Greetings to all of my previous neighbors out there in Cliffabee Leas. I hope that this video finds you well, whether you got it via email or through the cute postcard in the mailbox. Either way, I remember when this community was first being developed and homes were selling for the very high ones up there in the cottage portion and low to mid twos back there in the estates portion. And now looking at it, in 2023, the least expensive home that sold out there sold for $390,000. So guys, obviously, if you got in at the ground level at Cliffabee Leas, you're in a phenomenal position of equity. Now look, some of you folks just started calling Cliffabee Leas homes past 2 years. Don't worry, you're still sitting really pretty too. So what I want to do is take a deep but quick dive into the data that helps me understand what homes sell for out there. And considering that the homes that sold the quickest in that community were listed by our brokerage, I feel like we've got a pretty strong grip on what's shaking and moving in that particular community. So let's get into it. Awesome, great community. I lived back here on Angus Run before I left there. I love it. The community vibe, the camaraderie, the swimming pool in the summer times, hanging out with JD, a lot of fun. And not to mention that walking trail that I used to run on a regular basis. It's just an awesome community to call home, and I do miss it regularly. I want to jump into the actual sales that I mentioned a moment ago. And at any point during this video, you want to click up here in the top corner, you can see every one of these properties that have sold there in Cliffabee Leas. So don't hesitate to click on that to take a closer look at the homes. So that way you can, compare your home versus that home. So if you are thinking about selling in the next, 3-6 months, then reference this video. I think you'll find it to be wildly beneficial in your preparation. So you'll see here that the least expensive home sold for $390,000. It sat on the market for an aggregate 81 days. That means from the day that it was listed to the day that it's closed. And that's 405 Big Barn Court. Now, if you go to the most expensive home in the community, that is 69 Angus Run, sold for $440,000. Sat on the market for an aggregate 78 days. Now remember, that's from the day that it's listed to the day that it closes. Now you've got a lot that kind of fell in between, one that was 5 days, some others that are 36. And the next piece of information that I'm going to share with you is going to show you why that's so important. Now, looking at the sales price in Cliffabee Leas, the average is about $418,000. That's just for that community. And when we compare that to the average sales price in Seneca, now, mind you, I've broken that down between $375,000 and $500,000, single family, all bedrooms, but previously owned, and of course in Seneca. So looking at it, per the most collected data from our Showing Time app, the average sale in that range is $425,250. So that lets you know that Cliffabee Leas on the average still has a little bit more room to grow just to catch up with the Seneca average. And honestly, I think it's pretty safe to say that when you're talking about non-Lake Keowee communities, it doesn't get much better than Cliffabee Leas. I would have never built a home out there if I didn't strongly believe that. Next, what I want to show you is percentage of list price. This is how much sellers on average in this category, this criteria, are negotiating. So right now, sellers are only having to negotiate just barely above 2%. Now, this is on the average. And if you jump back to November, look at that. Negotiation, on the average, sellers were getting more than what they were asking for. So understand that is very much an up and down metrics. There's never a universal number to stick by, but it lets you know what the current market is doing in regards to seller negotiation. So if you are thinking about listing your home in the next month or two, you can probably say that, when I'm factoring in my net, maybe put a 2% swing on it. But if you price it right, maybe even a little aggressively, you might find that you get 1, 2, maybe 3% above and beyond what you're asking for. Now, the next really important piece of data I'd like to share with you is days on the market. This is the average day on the market in Seneca in this price point on previously owned homes. Now, in December, the average cumulative day was 34. Okay, so if you go back and you look at all of the listings that sold in Cliffabee Leas in 2023, you'll find that to be about right. The highest was 89. The lowest was 5. You had some 30s. You had a 50. You had a 60. So, that does pretty much add up. But as you can tell, November was 89. December 34. That's just a reflection of a lot of people when they were shopping in December. They wanted to move quick. They didn't have a lot of time to think about it. November, we had another spike in interest rates, so things kind of slowed down. Saw a lot of people pressing the pause button in November, but then decided maybe during that hangover week between Christmas and New Year's that they want to go ahead and pick that property up. I hope all of this information is wildly, wildly useful for you. Now, this month's supply, historically speaking, the National Association of Realtors, as well as our local association, has always said the closer that we get to 6 months supply, the closer we get to buyers calling the shots. So the closer we're down to 0, sellers call the shots. Now, looking at December's data, that's 3.5. So we're closer to 6 than we are to 0, but still a good bit away from 6. So understand, sellers are still very much calling the shots right now. We're not in a position like we were in those unicorn years of 2020 and 2021 and the first part of 2022, where contingencies just didn't exist. Nobody was asking for appraisals. Nobody was asking for these home inspections. That part has changed. We don't see as many multiple offers. However, the numbers are still the same. You want to know on average how many strangers are going to come into your home while you're, listing it for sale? I can show you that too. So shows to pending. The average right now is 7. So on the average, if you were to list your home in Seneca between this price point, you're probably going to see 7 people come through your house before they give you an acceptable offer. This is all data that I share with my clients when I sit down with them and talk to them about listing their property. If you want to get the best experience, if you want to get the right expectations, make sure there's data presented when you are thinking about jumping on this process. We do have a proven process that's worked over 3,500 times and gotten results. And if you want questions answered about your specific home, feel free to give me a buzz. I'll be more than happy to take a deep dive on your particular property, whether that's here virtually or me coming and seeing you in person. Just give me a call. I'm here to help. My number is 864-280-6726. Have a fantastic day and enjoy life out there in Cliffabee Leas.